Are you interested in buying a house and turning it into an Airbnb, but feel like you don't have enough cash saved up to make it happen?
We're going to break down to the exact dollar what it cost us to both purchase and set up one of our Airbnbs.
And we want to give you a real world example with real numbers. So we're going to talk about our Sweet Ting house, which is our Airbnb.
There are two big spending categories you have to consider when you purchase an Airbnb. The first is your cash to close. This is the amount of money you have to spend to acquire the property. The second big category are your startup costs, and this is the money you have to spend to get your property ready to be listed on Airbnb and start welcoming guests.
Now make sure to stick around until the end of the video, because after we share what we spent on this property, we're gonna share what kind of profits we'll make.
So let's start with your cash to close. Now, when we talk about cash to close, we're talking about the total out-of-pocket expense to purchase a property. Now, just because a property sells for $500,000, that doesn't mean that you actually spend $500,000 out of pocket to purchase that property. Most home purchases have a down payment, right? You're getting a loan from a bank to cover the majority of the purchase, but you've got a small down payment. In addition to the down payment, you usually have a little bit of closing costs. So your down payment and your closing costs make up your total cash to close.
So for the Sweet Ting house, our purchase price was $285,000. We obtained a loan with 10% down payment. So our down payment was $28,500 exactly. And for our closing costs, we paid a total of $7,588.
Your closing costs includes things like your loan origination charges, your appraisal, your title work, any insurance premiums you have to pay up front. So when you add up our down payment of $28,500 and our closing costs of $7,588, you get a total cash to close of $36,088. So that was our total out-of-pocket expense to purchase this $285,000 property.
Now, one of the questions that I'm sure will pop up in the comment section is, how are you buying an Airbnb with only 10% down?
Now, Sarah and I were not loan officers, right? So we definitely encourage you to talk with one, but we leveraged second home mortgages on this property and some of our other Airbnbs. And the second home mortgage allows you to purchase a property with a smaller down payment than you would with a traditional investment home. Now, there are some rules you have to follow. You know, we follow those rules, but if you follow the rules the right way, then you get this better kind of mortgage option. So again, connect with a good loan officer if you want some more information on second home mortgages.
All right, so again, we spent a total of $36,088 to purchase the Sweet Ting house. But after we purchased the property, it was still a blank slate, right? There was no furniture in it, so we couldn't welcome guests into an empty house. So we still had to spend a little bit more cash to get the property ready, fabulous, the way it looks now, and listed on Airbnb to start welcoming guests and to start making money, right?
Yeah. But before we move on to our startup costs, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to become an Airbnb host yourself, sign up using our referral link. It's in the description below. You'll get a little cash bonus from Airbnb as a thank you, and we'll get a little bit of thank you from Airbnb as well. So it's a win-win for both of us. So you can check for that in the description. And last, we've created I think a really easy and useful Airbnb property startup checklist. It's an Excel file that literally has all the steps that we follow for our Airbnbs.
Super helpful.
If you'd like to download that for completely free, then head over to alphageekcapital.com/checklist.
Last, be sure to connect with us on Instagram. I'm at Sarah Rad and he's at Tony J. Robinson.
Okay, so now that we've covered our cash to close, let's move on to the second big spending category, which is your startup costs. All right. So your startup costs includes all of the money that you spend after you purchase a property to actually get it up and running and ready to be listed on Airbnb or Vrbo, whatever site you're using.
So there are a number of things that go into your startup costs, and the actual dollar amount is honestly going to vary based on you and your design taste, the condition of the property that you purchased, and based on the preferences of the travelers in that market.
For example, if you've got like a really kind of simple design preference, then you'll probably spend less money on furnishings. But if you like really expensive, really high-end furniture, then you're obviously going to spend a lot more.
Yeah.
Now, it also depends on what kind of customer you're catering to. If you want to be one of the most expensive listings in your market, charge a premium, attract that kind of high-paying guest, then your design and your amenities need to be at or near the top of the market also.
So those are like luxury listings.
Yeah, the luxury listings, right?
But if you're trying to fall somewhere in the middle of the market, then you're catering to a different type of guest that won't need as many amenities and perks. So just keep that in mind as you hear our numbers.
Now, these aren't hard and fast rules. This is kind of just what's worked for us. But now let's break down how much we actually spent to set up the Sweet Tang house. We spent a total of $10,830 on furniture and household items. So this includes big things like, our fridge and the bed frame, small items like the forks and the cups, and literally everything in between.
And like we mentioned, this number will vary quite a bit from property to property. It could go up or down depending on how big your property is or what kind of design choices you make for that property.
The Sweet Tang house is also only 400 square feet, so we didn't have to design and furnish a really big space.
We also spent $1,041 on professional services. So this includes what we paid for our interior designer, shout out to Brianna Michelle, and our photographer to take the professional photos for the property.
Now, it can seem a little pricey to get professional photos or to pay a professional to design your space, but we honestly believe that they bring a lot of value and they do a much better job than what we would have done ourselves.
Absolutely. And we spent $2,489 on labor. And this is what we paid our handyman, who we love, to build our pergola, install our security cameras, hang all of our light fixtures, and help complete all of the other random tasks that we needed to get the property up and running.
Next, we spent $748 setting up our utilities. And you might be thinking, what the heck, how could you spend that much on utilities? But the biggest expense here was almost a $600 charge for setting up the propane tank for this property. Now, there's no city connection for gas in Joshua Tree for a lot of the properties. I think for all of them, actually.
Yeah.
We only have one property actually that has a gas connection. But anyway, if there's no gas connection, you have to buy a propane tank. And it's kind of expensive, but the tank is pretty large, and the only appliance that uses it is the hot water heater. Yeah. So this big tank should last us a couple of years.
And we spent another $360 renting a huge U-Haul to drive all the stuff that we bought for the Sweet Tang from our house where we had been storing it for a few weeks and then driving it over to the actual property.
Now, there is no garage at the Sweet Tang house, so the only place we could ship everything was to our own house. So yeah, fun for us.
And the last big expense was our short-term rental permit, which cost us $682.
Now, this is another expense that's going to vary a lot based on what market you're investing in, what city you're investing in. So don't expect our numbers from Joshua Tree to apply to every single market that you're thinking of investing in. So if you add up all of those expenses, our total startup cost comes out to $16,083. And if you take our total cash to close of $36,088 and you add those two together, you get a total cash investment of $52,171.
And if you're wondering how we paid for the $52,000, it was an all cash investment. The cash to close is always going to be paid for in cash, but you can choose to leverage credit or some other kind of loans for your startup costs.
So that's how much it cost us out of pocket to purchase and set up one of our Airbnbs. But the bigger question you might be asking is, okay, what kind of return are we expecting from this $52,000 investment? We're projecting that this property will grow somewhere around $71,000 over the course of an entire year. And we're projecting expenses to be somewhere around $39,000. Now that leaves us with an annual profit of somewhere around $32,000, which is a cash on cash return of 61%.
Woo!
Now, I will say that, we're only sharing these numbers to kind of give you guys some transparency on our investments, but we obviously can't guarantee that you'll see the same thing if you buy your own Airbnb. So please don't come beating us up in the comments if it doesn't work out the same way. But we're hoping that by sharing our numbers, you get a better idea of how much money is actually needed to start your own Airbnb business, because I think sometimes people have numbers that are a little unrealistic, or maybe they just have no basis of what it might cost.
So that's it. That's how much we spent to purchase and set up one of our Airbnbs. If you have any more questions about the cost to set up an Airbnb, drop a comment below.
And we spent today talking about how much we spent to buy one of our Airbnbs, but be sure to watch our other video. We'll link to it somewhere up here, where we talk about how much we actually make with our Airbnb.
That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sarah.
I'm Tony.
And we are the Real Estate Robinsons.